And we've moved on to Administration Report 232, Proposed Zoning Amendment Bylaw number 2404, Liquor Store Use in a C1 Zone. I'm going to have to hit it again there, Bruce. Councillor Christensen.
Your Worship, I'll move the recommendation. I'd like to have a question afterwards. That Council deny zoning amendment by application 2017-005 for the inclusion of a liquor store as an approved use on the subject property.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Councillor Christensen, do you get questions?
We talk about a liquor store. Is a wine and beer store also noted as a liquor store?
Yeah, it's all the same thing.
It's all the same?
All the same.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Okay. Any other questions? I just, I have comments, I guess. We're talking about a legal entity, a liquor store. A lot of this report, I found it subjective in that across from a school and alcohol is bad. To me, that it was. I didn't appreciate reading some of that, just in that this is a business owner who has a legal entity, is a proven himself, has established other liquor stores. This is looking at a lot that has been vacant since all the houses have been built around it. It's going to be hard to find, I believe, anything that would be a good use within that. Moving forward, what we're going to do is go to the public and go to the residents around there to find out what their thoughts were. And I view the proposal of a liquor store and a convenience store as something that could be very beneficial to that area, as the convenience store aspect especially, in that you're looking at quite a distance for any youth or families that are living in that area to get to a convenience store to go and buy a pop or chips or whatever, what have you. The liquor store itself, you can definitely say that we have a number of them in town. And I just came back from Grand Prairie on the weekend, and truly there's a liquor store on every corner in Alberta. Definitely appears that way at times. So some of this I view as. I view this as being a good option. I liked the option of limiting the size of the liquor store. I was concerned about the access to the property, but looking at the detailed drawings, the access doesn't bother me as far as traffic. Having a elementary school nearby, it's not directly across the street, and the way the drawings are set, this is not facing the what would be the elementary school. It is facing onto 112th. So I haven't quite bought into this being a no-go for us to just write off. I did like the alternative that is in the report here somewhere that would be limiting the size of it, and that we would go to a public hearing to hear what the residents would want. Do they see it as beneficial, or do they see it as being a concern in their area? And then we can make a judgment from there with proper consultation with the people that we're representing. That's the end of my rant. If you guys have any questions or comments, we have a motion on the floor, and I realize that. Councillor Hanson.
So I agree. I live in that area, and I would love to see the opportunity to get my neighbors' feedback on it. So I really like the idea of consultation and making, the community will feel more part of the decision as well.
Councillor Clausen.
Thanks. I know when we discussed this earlier, there was some concern with the C1 zone. And I just, again, somebody's going to have to remind me, my memory is really short. But I can't remember whether there was concern that if we allowed it in this C1 zone, there may be other C1 zones that might also then have implied permission to do that. Was that part of the concern with this particular?
It was, yeah.
It was? Okay.
Then it was to determine if we could spot zone it.
Or back to the proponent to see if they'd reclassify.
Yeah.
Sorry, what was this spot zoning bit?
The other option was a spot zone.
Okay,
I'm sure these ladies can explain this to us better than I can.
Thank you, Your Worship. So both of the alternative recommendations within this report are considered spot zones. So that will be to permit a liquor store on the subject property only and not within all C1 zone properties within the city. The two alternative recommendations are listed in somewhat of a preferential order based on site constraints to do with, we kind of struggled with this report in terms of there was two site plans presented by the applicant. So the intent of the report is to allow council the opportunity to select the maximum square footage for a liquor store. Both may end up requiring further applications to council, variance permits, et cetera, due to site constraints for the development itself.
Can I just
Councillor
ask?
Clausen.
Yeah, thanks. I guess my issue with just, and I know I seconded it, but it was just to get it on the floor. I'm looking at the map and the options where this could be located, and I'm seeing no option in that whole corner of our city the way it is right now. And so I guess, again, I feel like it's a decent location, and even if we limited size, and for me, I would tend to see us moving along and again allowing the community to have input if there's objection to it. But when you talk about in the report even there are other options for a location. There's nothing up in that corner of the city, and so even as we expand into that area that we have taken in expanded boundaries, there's really nothing there. So I do see some potential benefit to the community by having something available there. So yeah, I in this case, just looking at the whole map, I'd like to see us personally move forward and allow, even with one of the other alternative recommendations, and allow the community to have input there. But my concern was this whole, but the spot zoning thing answers that question. So this could be a one-off kind of thing, right? Okay, thanks.
Just so we're all clear, what's the negative of a spot zoning?
The spot zoning does not conform to our OCP or our zoning bylaw. It is not supported within those documents.
And through your worship, if I may add, generally spot zoning is a tool used to create positive results. So if there's an opportunity to try a new use in a location, it helps create community. It offers a good community mix. That's a great opportunity for spot zoning.
That sounds like one.
And that's where some of the tone within the report I took objection to, because it's very subjective when you're looking at what's beneficial. So I really, for me, I personally would rather put it to the community. If I'm living in that radius, then I would want to know about it and have an option to talk about it, because it may be something that's viewed as positive. City Manager.
Thank you, Your Worship. Just a question to Planning Department. I believe we have 3 lots in the community that are C1,
Correct, yes.
and this would be one of them, right? So there's 2
Yes,
additional
sure.
lots, right? So one of the options for council to consider is to make a liquor store as a use within the C1 zone that impacts 3 lots versus doing a spot zone, which is only specific to this particular lot. If you look at that as an option, the conversation becomes much broader and involves more neighborhoods. Because I think one of the lots is directly across from the high school,
Yes.
C1, and I don't recall where the other one was, the C1.
Yes, there are 3 different locations with slightly different what's adjacent to them and uses to look at.
So it becomes a bit more complicated of a conversation if you look at it as a permitted use in the C1. I'm just alerting you to the fact that if we go with a spot zone in this location, you may be dealing with 2 future applications. down the road, which you may or may not, right? But at this particular point, certainly your options are either deny the application, go with the spot zoning, certainly indicating the size of the liquor store that you would consent to, or include it into the C1 overall.
Yeah, my concern was with the other lot being directly across from the high school when we had that conversation earlier. I know within there, we're talking about an elementary school close by, but again, it's just the structure of what is being proposed is not viewed directly at the school. There is a distance between the school, and in all honesty, 16 to 18-year-old kids are quite different than 12 and under, and just what the aspects are involved in my mind, and that's where I would like the community input. We do have a motion on the floor here. Shall we call the question? All those in favor? Those opposed? Motion is defeated. Do we have an alternative option available here? Councillor Clausen? Did you hit it?
Yeah.
Councillor Clausen.
I would, I'll make the motion first and then I'll just comment on that. But I would make the alternate recommendation option 1, that zoning amendment bylaw number 2404 2017 include the use of maximum 200 square meter liquor store on the subject property only be read for the first and second times by title only, and further that the public hearing be scheduled for December 11, 2017 at 6 p.m. in City Hall Council chambers.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded.
And just to carry on with that, I think my personal preference would be to not go with the let's just do all the C1 zones allowing it. I think the spot zoning does allow us to look at it very specifically, and when I look at, again, location, to me this makes sense there, whereas it might not in another, not only just for schools and everything, but even community-wise and proximity to the other ones. So I would prefer to just do that spot zoning in this instance. That's my preference.
I agree. Yeah. All right. Any other questions or comments? All in favor? Opposed? Motion passes. Thank you, ladies.